In the vast expanse of our world's oceans, few mysteries captivate the imagination quite like that of ghost ships. Vessels found adrift with no living souls aboard, their crews vanished without explanation. Among these maritime enigmas, one stands out for its particularly macabre details. The story of the SS Ourang Medan, a Dutch freighter discovered in 1948 with its entire crew dead, their bodies frozen in postures of terror, faces contorted in silent screams, and all without a single visible wound. The tale begins in February 1948, somewhere in the Strait of Malacca, the busy shipping lane between Malaysia and Indonesia. According to the most widely circulated version of events, several ships in the area intercepted a chilling distress call. The message, sent in Morse code, was reportedly brief but disturbing. All officers, including captain, are dead, lying in chartroom and bridge, possibly whole crew dead. This was followed by a series of indecipherable dots and dashes, and then the final, haunting words, "I die." Two American vessels, the SS Silver Star and the City of Baltimore, responded to the distress call and raced toward the coordinates. Upon arrival, they found the Ourang Medan seemingly intact, but completely silent. When boarding parties from the Silver Star approached the ship, what they discovered was a scene that could have been ripped from a horror movie. The entire crew, officers, engineers, the captain, even the ship's dog, were dead, their bodies scattered across the decks and within the ship's compartments. What made the discovery truly disturbing was the condition of the corpses. Every member of the crew had died with their arms outstretched, as if reaching for something. Their faces were frozen in expressions of absolute terror, teeth bared and eyes wide open. Despite the tropical heat of the Strait of Malacca, many accounts suggest the bodies were unnaturally preserved, almost mummified, though no signs of physical trauma, wounds, or injuries were visible on any of the victims. The ship's dog was reportedly found in a similarly horrifying state, teeth bared in a final snarl, seemingly facing some invisible threat. Even more bizarre, the boarding party reported feeling an extreme chill in the ship's lower levels, despite the sweltering equatorial heat outside. Some versions of the story claim that sweating crew members from the Silver Star found themselves shivering when they ventured into the Ourang Medan's engine room and cargo hold. This unexplainable cold only added to the eerie atmosphere surrounding the ghost ship. Before a thorough investigation could be conducted, disaster struck. A fire broke out in the ship's cargo hold. Some accounts say smoke was first noticed by the boarding party, while others suggest an explosion occurred without warning. The rescue team had barely enough time to cut the tow line and retreat to a safe distance before the Ourang Medan exploded with tremendous force and sank quickly into the depths of the ocean, taking with it any evidence that might have explained the crew's mysterious fate. That's the story that has been told and retold for decades. But like many maritime mysteries, separating fact from fiction in the case of the Ourang Medan proves remarkably difficult. In fact, as we dig deeper into this tale, the lines between historical event and seafaring legend become increasingly blurred. The first major red flag is the lack of official records. Maritime historians have pointed out that there seems to be no mention of the Ourang Medan in Lloyd's shipping register, which cataloged virtually all merchant vessels of the era. No Dutch shipping company has ever claimed ownership of such a vessel, and official records of the Silver Star's activities during this period make no mention of a rescue attempt involving a ghost ship. The incident, despite its sensational nature, appears in no newspapers of the time, which is particularly strange given how newsworthy such a story would have been. The earliest documented reference to the Ourang Medan incident doesn't appear until May 1952, when an article was published in the Proceedings of the Merchant Marine Council. This was followed by coverage in a 1953 issue of Fate magazine, which specialized in tales of the paranormal and unexplained. These publications came years after the alleged incident, raising questions about the story's origins. Despite these discrepancies, the tale has persisted and evolved over the decades, with various theories proposed to explain what might have happened aboard the Ourang Medan, assuming, of course, that the ship existed at all. One of the most plausible explanations involves the ship's cargo. According to some versions of the story, The Ourang Medan was carrying a secret, illegal shipment of hazardous chemicals, possibly potassium cyanide, nitroglycerin, or some combination of dangerous substances. In the hot, humid conditions of the Strait of Malacca, these chemicals might have leaked or reacted, releasing deadly gases that asphyxiated the crew without leaving visible marks. This theory could explain the expressions of terror. The crew would have been conscious as they suffocated, and the subsequent fire and explosion that sank the ship. Another hypothesis suggests the Ourang Medan might have been transporting chemical or biological weapons in the aftermath of World War II. Some researchers have speculated that the vessel was part of Unit 731, the notorious Japanese biological warfare unit that conducted experiments during the war. After Japan's surrender, the theory goes, the ship might have been used to transport these illegal weapons, possibly with the knowledge of Allied forces who were interested in the research. If these weapons leaked or were accidentally released, they could have caused the crew's death in the manner described. Carbon monoxide poisoning from a malfunctioning boiler or engine is another possibility that has been raised. Carbon monoxide is odorless and colorless, and in high concentrations, it can cause rapid death. Victims often display a characteristic cherry red skin tone, which some interpretations of the Ourang Medan story mention. This would also explain why the entire crew died simultaneously without having time to send a more detailed distress call. Some researchers have even pointed to methane bubbles rising from the seafloor as a potential culprit. In certain oceanic areas, particularly those with significant underwater geological activity, large pockets of methane can be released suddenly from the seabed. If a ship happens to be passing over such an event, the methane can displace the oxygen around the vessel, suffocating the crew and potentially causing the ship's engines to fail. This phenomenon has been suggested as an explanation for disappearances in the Bermuda Triangle, and some wonder if it might apply to the Ourang Medan as well. For those inclined toward more supernatural explanations, theories involving paranormal phenomena have also emerged. Some suggest the crew might have encountered something otherworldly, perhaps even extraterrestrial, that caused their deaths. The expressions of terror, the unexplained cold spots, and the mysterious distress call ending with "I die" certainly lend themselves to such interpretations. Others have proposed that the ship may have passed through some kind of temporal or dimensional anomaly, exposing the crew to forces beyond human comprehension. But perhaps the most likely explanation of all is that the entire story is a fabrication, a sea legend that grew in the telling. Professor Theodor Seersdorfer of Essen, Germany, spent years researching the Ourang Medan case and concluded that the story may have originated as propaganda. In his research, he discovered possible connections between the Ourang Medan tale and efforts by religious groups in the late 1940s to discourage post-war profiteering and smuggling. The horrifying tale of a crew punished for carrying illicit cargo could serve as a powerful moral warning. Further casting doubt on the story is the lack of any survivors or witnesses beyond the alleged boarding party from the Silver Star. No family members of the Ourang Medan's crew have ever come forward, no personal effects were reportedly recovered, and no documentation of the ship's manifest or route has ever been found. The ship itself, conveniently lost to the depths, cannot be examined for evidence. However, even if the Ourang Medan never existed, the persistence of its story tells us something significant about human fascination with maritime mysteries. The oceans, covering more than 70% of our planet's surface, remain in many ways as unknown to us as distant space. The vastness of the seas, their unpredictability, and the isolation experienced by those who sail them create a perfect setting for both real tragedies and imaginative legends. Throughout history, the seas have claimed countless ships and lives, often without witnesses or explanations. The Mary Celeste, found adrift in 1872 with no crew aboard but otherwise intact and under sail. The Carroll A. Deering, abandoned by its crew off North Carolina in 1921. The Joyita, discovered in the South Pacific in 1955 with its crew vanished. These are just a few of the documented ghost ships that have entered maritime lore. Against this backdrop of genuine nautical mysteries, it's not hard to see how a story like that of the Ourang Medan could take root and flourish, regardless of its factual basis. In recent years, the Ourang Medan has experienced a resurgence in popularity thanks to its inclusion in video games, podcasts, and documentaries about unsolved mysteries. The story continues to evolve, with new details and theories emerging as different storytellers adapt the tale. This evolution itself is fascinating, showcasing how legends grow and change to reflect contemporary fears and interests. Whether the Ourang Medan ever say,